Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. Our lead story of the day is regarding the drone strike that happened on the Kremlin the other day, and we're going to break down everything we know so far. But before we jump into anything, as always, support a true American patriot by hitting that like and subscribe button. Leave us a short, sweet comment down below. The question of the day for the comment section is, do you think it was the United States? Was it China? Ukraine? Let us know in the comment section below. We'd love to hear from you. So, as many of you have heard, there was a drone strike on the Kremlin, and now they're blaming the United States. But we're going to go over this whole murky situation in terms of what we actually know so far. And we got some video footage for you as well. So, the tight ring of security that surrounds the seat of the Russian presidency was punctured in dramatic fashion by what appeared to be 2 attempted drone strikes in the early hours of Wednesday morning. But until the Kremlin actually chose to publicize the whole incident, around 12 hours later, social media footage of the incident had gained little attention. Why Russia decided to reveal the security breach is literally unclear to everybody. But in a 5-paragraph statement on Wednesday, the Kremlin made the incendiary claim that the incident was an assassination attempt launched by Ukraine on the Russian President Vladimir Putin. And then you obviously had the Ukrainians say it wasn't us. So what ended up happening was Kyiv was bombarded with missiles in the hours following Russia's claims, in keeping with Putin's historic willingness to strike Ukrainian cities after any alleged act of basically provocation. So many details about the incident literally remain murky. Nobody really knows what the hell's going on, including John Kirby in the United States, which we'll get to that footage in just one moment. But I want to show you the footage, and then we'll kind of detail what happened and then what kind of everybody's saying out there. So here's the footage itself of the drone strike. Let's go ahead and roll it. Got the drone flying over, and boom. It's like a little pop. I mean, I've seen bigger explosions from Disneyland fireworks than what you just saw on your screen. And for those that are listening, it was a little pop. Okay, it was like a firecracker went off, like an M80. So they're gonna call this an assassination attempt. Even Putin wasn't even in the building, and they're gonna try to blame the United States for this, which is silly. You think we wouldn't know if the guy was in the building or not? And by the way, if we wanted to blow the building up, that building would cease to exist. But it was a little pop. So what happened? The video actually doesn't show everything, folks. So I'm gonna tell you what other videos show that are circulating around the internet. Moscow said the alleged attack took place in the early hours of Wednesday. 2 unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, were intercepted and supposedly destroyed before they caused any damage or injury, the Kremlin said. The Russian president was not in the building at the time, according to Kremlin spokesperson. Videos then emerged on social media appearing to show the incident. CNN analyst of these videos supports Moscow claims that there was in fact 2 drones that were flown above the Kremlin. A video that appeared to show smoke rising from the Kremlin surfaced on a Telegram channel at 2:37 a.m. local time on Wednesday. The first reports of the incident citing the Kremlin came via Russia state media around 2:33 p.m., around 12 hours later. Well, shortly after the media reports started coming out, another video appeared to show the moment an apparent drone exploded above the Kremlin, being circulated widely on social media. In that video, it seems to fly towards the building's domed roof, followed by what looks like a small explosion. In this video, 2 people appear to be climbing on the dome holding flashlights and can be seen ducking down just before the moment of the explosion. The people climbing on the dome are not present in the first of these videos, but appear in the second, suggesting they were responding to the fire caused earlier. And again, if this was really an assassination attempt, you think that we wouldn't have gotten the guy or made a bigger explosion? It's nonsense coming from the Russians. Now, was it the Americans? Was it us? I have no idea. And neither does John Kirby. So who's saying what here? Well, let's hear John Kirby's short response. It's a 10-minute video, but I'm only going to play a little bit here of John Kirby talking about the drone strike on CNN. Let's go ahead and roll.
National Security Council spokesman John Kirby. John, thanks so much for being here this morning. What's your response to Russia claiming that it's actually Washington who is behind this drone attack, saying essentially they tell Kyiv what to do?
There's a word that comes to mind that I'm obviously not appropriate to use on national TV. I would just tell you, Mr. Peskov's lying. I mean, it's a ludicrous claim. The United States had nothing to do with this. We don't even know exactly what happened here, Caitlin. But I can assure you, the United States had no role in it whatsoever. And again, just to be clear, and I think you covered this at the beginning, we neither encourage nor do we enable Ukraine to strike outside Ukraine's borders.
Do you have any information that might indicate who was behind? No, the drone strikes.
No, we don't, Poppy. We really don't. I mean, we're trying to learn more about this best we can, but we honestly just don't know what happened here. I think here's another thing.
I just want to pause it here because I'm not sure if I believe John Kirby. It is interesting to me how much this guy or our military doesn't know about things. If you look at the Chinese spy balloon, oh, what's that? No, we're gathering intelligence. We don't know what it is. And you have like 3 other unidentified objects flying around the United States. No intelligence on that, by the way. Just knows nothing. Still don't know anything to this day, by the way. Even though we shot it down. Still have no clue what it was. What else? Heck, you have the other shoot downs that took place. You have other issues that are going on around the globe that he still can't give answers to, by the way. He was even questioned on the White House press briefing from yesterday. And the reason why I'm not covering it is because he's saying, we don't know anything. I don't have any answers for you. And somebody literally asked him, well, do you think at any point that we would actually have answers? He literally shrugged. He didn't actually say anything. He just goes, huh. That's the type of information that's coming out of this Biden administration. So I'm curious, do they really not know anything? Or do we actually know a lot of things and we're just not saying?
That happened, though, Poppy.
Sure.
In just the last 48 hours or so, Mr. Putin has continued to rain down on Ukraine cruise missiles and drones and conducting other kinds of airstrikes. And just yesterday killed 23 innocent civilians in a residential complex that they hit, likely intentionally. So that's also what's happening. And I think we can't forget that.
Are you saying that you think this is a pretext by Russia for those actions?
No, I'm not saying that. I don't
Okay.
know.
Okay.
It's not as if just, back up, even longer than 48 hours ago. Over the course of the weekend, Mr. Putin was flying cruise missiles and drones, hitting civilian infrastructure and targets throughout Ukraine. It's not like he's looking for an excuse to continue to try to find ways to kill innocent Ukrainians.
Given all of that, Kirby, do you see Putin as a lawful and legitimate military target?
Look, we don't we don't endorse strikes on individual leaders. Mr. Putin is the aggressor here. His forces are in Ukraine illegally. And
I mean, we kind of do. We've taken out a lot of people. We've taken out a lot of leaders in our time as a country, and we're really damn good at it. But so that's what Kirby's saying. And the Kremlin first blamed Ukraine, as we mentioned, describing the purported drone attack as an attempt on President Vladimir Putin's life, which is nonsense. I mean, the guy wasn't even there. I mean, everybody that saw the footage just now, we've created bigger firecrackers in our streets on 4th of July than what we saw in that videotape. It's a little bit silly. It's theatrical. So in a statement, the Kremlin said, we view these actions as a planned terrorist attack and assassination attempt. Maybe a terrorist attack, but assassination attempt. Come on. Adding that Russia reserves the right to take countermeasures wherever and whenever it deems appropriate. And that question kind of got brought up in the White House press briefing as well. And obviously, John Kirby didn't give a response to any of it. He just gave some cockamamie response about them killing civilians and all those other things, which is a good response to give because it's not a good thing. But we're unsure if there's going to be a proportional response. And that was the exact phrase that was asked in the White House press briefing. Do you think there's going to be a proportional response? He gave some cockamamie response. It wasn't even worth covering here on the Ball Brad Show. So on Thursday, Russia also then claimed the U.S. was involved in the attack. So it's like throw the dart at the board and just hope you land on something. Undoubtedly, such decisions, the definition of goals, the definition of means, all this is dictated by basically Ukraine and Washington. And that comes from the spokesperson of the Russians. So both allegations drew sharp denials, as you can imagine, from the Ukrainians and Washington, as we just saw from John Kirby. Quote, we don't attack Putin or Moscow. That comes from Zelensky himself from the Ukrainian side during a news conference in Helsinki on Wednesday. Quote, we fight on our territory. We are defending our villages and cities. We don't have enough weapons for this. That's why we don't use it anywhere else, Zelensky said. We didn't attack Putin. We leave it to tribunal, which you almost want to say that he's telling the truth because everything that's going on, you think the guy would be stoked about hitting Moscow in the Kremlin, like getting within their security defenses and doing something like that, like you'd be boastful about it. So I don't know who it was, and that's why that's the question of the day is, do you guys think it was the United States? Do you think it was the Ukrainians? Do you think it was maybe China or Russia themselves to trying to provoke something more serious to get them to do something stupid and kind of say, hey, they attacked themselves, something small. They go, look what the United States did. We're going to retaliate and do something to them. And that could cause, an escalation. So we're also looking into, well, who else could be responsible? Again, that's why we asked that question. So if Ukrainians weren't the perpetrator, one possibility is that the incident was the work of the Russian partisans, as claimed by former Russian lawmaker linked with the militant group in Russia. I mean, it came from inside. You have one of the Russian lawmakers telling Matthew Chance of CNN that it's one of the Russian partisan groups, adding that I cannot say more as they have not publicly claimed responsibility. And these are people that are coming from the inside of Russia again, and talking about kind of the connection between basically Ukraine and Poland. There's nothing much there to really add anything to. So kind of the other question we have to ask ourselves here, I know the segment's going on kind of long, but it's important to kind of throw everything at you all at once. Well, what happens next here? Like what's going to go beyond this? One route we don't know, but some people are saying that Moscow has already launched a wave of missiles in Ukraine, and they moved the line with its playbook after previous flashpoints in the war, and messages written on Russian drones launched overnight read for Moscow for the Kremlin. So they're definitely retaliating. We're going to see what comes of it. I'm not quite sure. We'll see what Putin does. We'll see what lies are spread. Maybe the U.S. is lying, folks. I don't know. I have a feeling that it's not us. I don't see what we get out of this. And again, I think if we wanted to make a statement, we would do a lot more than just a small drone strike like that. So I am really curious on what you all think about that. Given the evidence that you were just provided, do you think it was us? Do you think it was the Chinese? Do you think it was some militant group in Russia? And if this is a militant group, they got their hands on a drone. How'd they get their hands on a drone? I understand there's black markets out there. Curious to hear from your opinions, folks. Curious to hear about it in the comment section. Moving into our next story of the day, we got protesters going after Ron DeSantis' office and literally going into it. Hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already, folks, because it's amazing how the left and Democrat Party spent years on the whole January 6th idea of a few thousand people basically getting a VIP tour of Congress's, House of Representatives, the Senate, wherever they went into the state capitol at the end of the day. Even though they had permits to be on the land, the area, they didn't have permits to go inside. I don't think that was a good thing. That's not what I'm saying. But, it was basically being chauffeured around by Capitol Security, Capitol Police. Like, hey, look at this. This is Nancy Pelosi's office. Feel free to take a dump on it. Take a selfie if you would like. All these things. But they've literally, the left and Democrat Party, their side of the aisle, has taken over like 4 state capitals since then. And now they rushed Ron DeSantis' office here. The leftist media outlets aren't going to cover it, of course. That they've done this literally 4 or 5 times now in different capitals around the country, but they're only going to focus on January 6th, but not like the multiple times this all takes place, which we're so used to, right? The same way they go after Republicans and conservatives for one small event, even though we just got done watching 4 years of the Democrat Party and the progressive left burn down our cities. All the while, they have literally the leftist media outlets rubbing their shoulders and kissing their feet on camera going, oh, well, it's a mostly peaceful protest as the buildings ablaze. There's like 5 buildings on fire, basically burnt to crisp, and people just adding to it. Yeah, nothing to see here, though, folks. Actually, we do cover that in our book, by the way. Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. If you haven't picked yourself up a copy, your friend or family member, what are you doing? I'm hearing you're all enjoying it. Thanks for those that bought it. I saw your reviews on Amazon. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't wrote a review and you did buy the book, head over there. We would love to hear from you. It's 5 stars. People are enjoying it, folks. Pick yourself up a copy. And heck, while we're at it, if you haven't gone over to baldbrad.com and picked yourself up some merch, we got shirts. I mean, these shirts, folks, look at the collar here, huh? The fit on these are insane. Shib got a shirt. Also, Shib, I saw your mug. I saw it on the Amazon. I saw the review, my friend. Thank you so much. Get yourself a mug, folks. Coffee is going to taste so much better. I mean, if you want to get a reality and an idea of what coffee tastes like from a true American mug, this is it, folks. I'm telling you, you got the American flag on the back. You got the Bald Brad logo on the front. There's a lot of other merch for you, folks. Pick yourself up something. So here we go. Protesters flooded the office of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis at the state capitol on Wednesday after the Republican legislature passed sweeping education bills that Democrats have decried as racist and transphobic. I mean, that should basically, if the Democrats had their own flag, that's what should be posted on it, is that Republicans and conservatives and anything that we don't agree with is just racist and transphobic. So we'll get into the actual details. Give me one moment here. But police made at least a dozen arrests at the Capitol where protesters planted themselves inside DeSantis' office. And DeSantis was not at the Capitol at the time, though be amused by staffers could be seen behind a walled desk. Dozens of protesters locked arms, sat on the carpet, as you can imagine, and cried over their lives and what's going on, because it's terrible. It's just so terrible what's happening in the United States compared to the rest of the world, where literally there's still slavery happening. There's concentration camps in freaking China. People are being beheaded. You got Jews and Christians and gays all across the world, especially in the Middle East, just being skinned alive, beheaded, scalped, lit on fire, thrown in cages and drowning alive. All that stuff's going on. But yeah, let's complain about what we got going on here. So, as I mentioned, dozens of protesters locked arms and sat on the carpet, and they refused to comply with police officers and the warnings that the police officers were giving that they must vacate the area within 20 minutes. As you can imagine, they didn't do so. So those arrested faced trespassing charges and a 1-year ban from the Capitol grounds, according to Miami Herald. And I just you want to see the type of people that are there for those that are curious. I mean, that looks like a leftist, folks. Okay, if you're a true American patriot, let's try not to look like that and have some sort of decency. But that's what's going on here. I'm sorry if there's any Bald Bradshaw viewers that are very reminiscent of this. I'm not trying to attack you. I'm just saying there's a specific type of look to a progressive leftist. Here's another picture of them inside. I mean, look, the guy has a colored guitar, right? Has a, like a hippie style look. You got the hair colored there. There is a specific look in the same way there's a specific look to conservatives, Republicans, right? The American flag, which is, patriotic, maybe a patriotic shirt on, Second Amendment shirt or whatever. In the same way, you could just call out a progressive leftist basically any day of the week by just seeing what they wear and the way that they talk. So you're seeing that right here on the screen. So it says the first piece of legislation prevents students and teachers, this is really important, and I love this, from being required to use pronouns that don't correspond to a person's biological sex. And the second bill bans diversity programs in colleges throughout the state because it's a waste of taxpayer dollars. And that's why early on, many months ago, when we covered this on the Bald Brad Show, Ron DeSantis basically performing an audit and seeing how this money is being spent and if it's being spent wisely. And we covered how these diversity officers on campus that are there just to hire based on your skin color, students coming in, or rather hire, basically receive or administer students into the school through the admission process based on skin color, like through affirmative action and other ways they can sit there and quantify their diversity quotas. They're getting paid like $600,000 to $800,000 to do that job. They sit there and look at a list and be like, hey, we only have like 5% black people. We need more black people because we're not proportional. So that's what they're doing. They're getting paid like $800,000 again. And you did the math on it. You could literally spend that money elsewhere and actually really help a lot of people out in college. But I really love the fact that they put in there, and that's why I highlighted the word, from teachers, basically students and teachers, from being required to use pronouns that don't correspond to a person's biological sex. If you watched yesterday's episode, I know we don't get too many views on our educational videos in terms of what I've witnessed behind the scenes. But one of those things is that teachers are being mandated to lie to you, but also being mandated on their speech on what they can and can't say, because if they don't call the student the correct pronoun, then now you have a harassment suit, or you have a harassment or discrimination suit happening against the school district on behalf of the person that feels like they're being, again, harassed by the teacher, even though that's not the teacher's true intention. A teacher's dealing with reality. When they see a biological male that's named Randy, and now you want to be called Rachel because somehow you switched from male to female, well, I'm sorry, I'm not going to indulge in that false reality. I'll call you by your birth name, or I'll call you by your last name, just because I don't want to be rude. I just want you to do well in school. You've all heard me emphasize that enough. I just want people to do well. I'm not there to degrade them. I'm not there to belittle them. I just want them to do well in school, and I just want to go home to my family and do the Bald Brad Show. That's all I want. I don't want any problems, okay? You're trying to create problems for me. I love this. The problem is removed in the state of Florida. Now teachers are not mandated to call you by the correct pronouns. And as you can imagine, this is racist and sexist and bigoted and homophobe and transphobe and all those things they call us, which is just bounces off us now because it doesn't make any sense. But the bill sailed through the Florida House and Senate like faster than you can snap your fingers, baby. They're like, let's do it. Super quick. Florida gets stuff done. To the desk of the governor, who is expected to sign them this week. Other legislation working its way through the legislature would ban schools from teaching about gender identity and sexual orientation up to 8th grade. DeSantis has called for such teachings to be prohibited in all grades. I do agree with that. I think if that stuff if that's what Floridians want, then they can vote to instill that within the standards and have that being taught in the school district. Because people go, well, why would we teach this? How do we all come to an agreement on what to teach? Well, you come to an agreement on a society in terms of what to teach. So if society wants us to put gender identity and sexual orientation in schools, then that's what the society wants the kids to learn. Then that's what should be taught. But this is not what people want. The polls show this is not what people want. People don't want their kids to be trans. People don't want their kids to watch cartoons, jerking off and showing them how to masturbate like we saw in New Jersey at a 3rd grade level. So this is a good move by Ron DeSantis. People don't want that. His own constituents that he's there to serve as the politician don't want that. This is a great move. But obviously the people on the left are losing their minds over it. If you want your kid to learn about this stuff, then teach them it yourself at home. How about that? How about you take the responsibility as the parent to teach your kid what you want them to learn? God forbid you do that. God forbid you teach them how to, write a check or balance a checkbook. Okay, what goes into a credit card, how to deal with your finances, what a mortgage is, what interest rate is, what a term is, what a coupon rate is. When you look at a bond, what a bond is. God forbid we do that as adults and inculcate that within our kids. We rely on the education system for some reason to be the parent when that's not the role of the education system, but that's what the left want it to be. It also allows challenges against schools and the books that critique or argue are inappropriate for children. The idea, according to supporters, is to protect children from sexualized content. And that's why we see some of these pornographic stuff being put into schools and teaching them, again, how to touch themselves and how to use dildos and sex toys and stuff like that. It's insane, you guys. It's so insane what's going on in these school districts. And you have these other states that are pushing this through. And what's so odd to me, and I've said this at length, you guys, I understand I repeat myself a lot, but I'm trying to grasp the idea of how you could still vote Democrat when your entire party is for transing kids, indoctrinating them with critical race theory and gender identity theories, on top of the fact that you're for mutilating kids, giving them hormone blockers, puberty blockers, hormone enhancers, puberty enhancements, all this stuff, lopping off their genitals, mutilating them at a young age, and thinking that they can actually dictate their gender and their identity at such a young age when their brain hasn't actually fully developed, where they are or are not able to comprehend certain things. Like literally, you keep them inside. They're not even allowed to cross the street by themselves. You have to hold their hand, but yet you want them to sit there and actually decide if they're a male or female and then make that life-altering decision to lop off their genitals. That's why I always make the joke, you literally have a kid eating paste in school, squirting Elmer's glue inside his mouth, drooling all over the place, boogers everywhere. And the kid's supposed to sit there and say, yeah, I'm a girl, when actually they're a biological male. And you go, do you want to lop off your pee-pee, honey? Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I don't know. Sounds a little outrageous. Why don't you just wait till they're 18 to make that decision? But that's too logical, folks. That's way too logical for the progressive left. Let me know what you think about that one in the comment section below. Moving into our last segment of the day, folks, I'm having a lot of fun doing this. I hope you're enjoying the Bald Brad Show. I love hanging out with you guys in the mornings. It is the most fun part of my day. I literally, and I mean this in all honesty, you guys, I can't wait to wake up in the morning and just hang out with y'all. You guys are fabulous. The stuff you write is outrageous. The stuff you guys write in the chat is just so insane. One of these days you guys are gonna get me in trouble here on the YouTubes. So our last story of the day is Chicago police stations. Y'all are gonna love this. Chicago police stations are housing migrants who are sleeping in the entryways. They've taken over the full lobby section of multiple precincts in Chicago. Hit that like and subscribe button, folks, if you haven't already. Leave us a comment down below. It really does support the show. Yes. We covered this, how Mayor Lori Lightfoot was pleading with Governor Greg Abbott of Texas to stop busing migrants to Chicago because they couldn't handle 8,000. Since August of 2022, almost a year ago, couldn't handle 8,000. I would like to point out when Title 42 expires on May 11th, they're expecting 11,000 a day in Texas, at least 11,000 a day. She can't handle 8,000 since last year. A whole year's gone by, she's struggling. They don't have anywhere to put these people, which is amazing, right? You boast for literally years calling Trump a racist, and you're boasting how you're freaking a sanctuary city and a right to shelter, and you can't even find a place to house these people, so now they're going into freaking police stations? That's the Democrats for you, folks. That's why you don't vote for them. That's why you vote conservative Republican. That's why you support the Bald Brad Show, because at least we have some logic and some sane reasoning going on here. The Democrat Party, as you saw from the Biden administration, there ain't nothing happening there. So the Chicago police stations have become makeshift shelters for migrants and those seeking asylum. You notice that seeking asylum, or they're seeking some sort of thing, 99% of them don't actually meet asylum standards. At least 2 precinct lobbies have become the bedrooms. Yes, you heard me correctly. The bedrooms for foreign migrants, a source told the outlet. With some of the people even pictured hanging out in one policeman's office watching television. You want to see what that looks like? That's what it looks like. Homie's watching Netflix, sitting in a chair. Oh my God. If you recall, we actually talked about how Mayor Eric Adams of New York City was complaining about, again, Governor Greg Abbott and Doug Ducey and Ron DeSantis busing migrants to New York City because they didn't have enough space either. It was literally crippling their infrastructure system to the point where he was asking New Yorkers to house these illegal aliens. And so what they did was they built a camp and they were giving them Xboxes, multiple plasma TVs, a revolving menu, like a 3-course meal to their standard, by the way, to like literally their cultural standard of what they eat in their country. They'll make it for them there. They get laundry services, bedding, clothing, heating, air conditioning. I mean, it is insane what they're offering here. And then he goes on and goes, oh, well, we need $1 billion from the federal government. Basically, Biden gave him the middle finger. Biden doesn't respond to anybody clearly because he's sleeping. Well, police officials, while having sympathy for the migrants, reportedly believe the overflow is a fallout of a nationwide immigration crisis. Whoa, we're not allowed to use that word, crisis, okay? If it was really a crisis, the Biden administration would tell us, wouldn't they? I mean, they would tell us if there was a crisis at the southern border. I mean, in the same way, Karine Jean-Pierre told us they weren't just walking across the border when questioned by Peter Doocy of Fox News. She told us that wasn't happening. I believe everything coming from the White House. The White House tells me everything that's true. I was a Democrat right there, if anybody was curious. I believe everything the White House tells me. Joe Biden is so good at his job. We're all doing great. I love losing $4,500 a year. I love the market going down. Oh, the banking crisis? That's not a crisis. Nothing to see here. I love paying more at the pump. I love getting done behind by the Biden administration. It's so much fun. I have to be careful with my words here, folks, but I'm sure you can picture what I'm saying. It's ludicrous. It's insane. And of course, you had empathy for these people because they're human beings. But look, the Democrat Party caused this, just like everything in this country. They always drive this country into the ground, and then they expect themselves to fix it, meaning the voters expect the Democrats to fix it, the Democrat voters. It's insane. It's an insane logic, which we've talked about here on the Bald Brad Show. The Democrats vote for those that cause the issue, and then those that cause the issue say they have a solution to fix the issue, so they vote more Democrats in the office to cause more of an issue, and they just keep getting lied to, and they actually believe them going, oh, well, you said you'd fix it 4 years ago. It ain't being fixed, but I'll still vote for you because I'm a knucklehead. That seems to be how it works, and then the problems just continue to get worse. It's called insane thinking, folks, is what it's called. So, quote, this is a dangerous situation that arose from their ridiculous sanctuary city policy. They clearly did not have a plan to deal with it, and they're placing the cops, once again, in undue risk. What's interesting here is basically all the southern governors and mayors basically called their bluff. Like, they're never going to bust them up here. Why would they spend the money? They're conservative Republicans. They're fiscal. They're not going to waste the money like that. No. We'll do a GoFundMe. I've always said this. Do a GoFundMe. I'll help fund the thing. I'll put some money there for the Greyhound buses. We'll chauffeur thousands of people there and just really cripple Chicago and New York. That's what I'd love to see. Chicago has been a sanctuary city for more than 5 years, which preceded outgoing Mayor Lori Lightfoot's reign. A source described migrant babies and children as present as at the stations themselves, while another marked that there was an 11-year-old girl by herself. You want to know how sick the Democrat Party is and Joe Biden? Literally, there was a girl, I think she was 8 years old, and she had like 62 to 67 different types of DNA inside her. And I have to be careful with what I say. The Democrats are for that. They'll still vote for it. And they're totally for open borders. This is just one girl. You know how many little girls are being raped? But, hey, Democrats love the grooming and doing stuff to little kids. That's why we just saw trans Democrats want to sit there and give rights to pedophiles. We did that show. When you listen to me, and if you're new to the Bald Brad Show, when you listen to me, you're like, no way in hell. This show is freaking satire. There's no way this is real. No, it's real. That's why you got to watch every day, because the stuff that comes out of my mouth sounds asinine. And I understand that, but it's real. They want to give pedophiles certain rights so they can touch your kids and stuff. In the same way, they want to teach your kids how to masturbate and use butt plugs and stuff like that. That also sounds like satire when I say, use butt plugs. We've covered that on the Bald Brad Show. Them wanting to show your kids how to use dildos, even as boys, and put it inside themselves, and how to use butt plugs correctly, how to loop them up and stuff. I'm not talking about 18-year-old kids. I'm talking about little children. This is what they want to do. They want to give them pornographic material. They want to sit there and lie to you. We covered that in yesterday's episode, where they're literally mandating teachers to lie to the parents about their kids' gender identity issues. So your kid could be trans. You have no idea because they're dressing up as a boy. When they get to school, all of a sudden they're wearing a skirt, right? All of a sudden they're wearing some weird stuff, a wig and everything like that. And now they're a girl and you have no idea what's going on because the school's hiding it from you. And all the while, they're seeing a school psychologist, counseling. They're sitting there and helping them transition along the path, right? Getting them set up with Planned Parenthood without your knowledge. All this stuff is taking place. Sounds ludicrous, but it's happening, folks. It's happening. Yesterday, when I left, this is actually a quote, and I'll back up a little bit to a few weeks ago. You have a couple weeks ago, there was a Venezuelan family who was sitting on the floor next to a homeless person with a baby. I gave them $20 and I asked my team to give them money as well, a source said. Yesterday when I left, there was an 11-year-old girl sitting on the floor by herself, said another. Literally, if any of these young girls walk out there, they will be targeted. Targeted by who? Because it's not a conservative Republican idea to target this stuff. We don't want this to happen, but the Democrats do. A Chicago City spokesperson told Fox News that police stations are not labeled or treated as shelters. Being treated as that, which is amazing. They said not treated as shelters, but they are. But says the city's command the Chicago police officers for playing an integral part in our mission to coordinate safe passage for all new arrivals. You gotta love that. All new arrivals, just there's no term for actual new arrivals, is there? Similar problems have popped up in Boston. Gee, is that a red area or Democrat-ran area? Where dozens of migrants have made overnight stays at hospitals in the city. Hospitals are pissed about this, by the way. They're literally just taking over the lobbies of hospitals, and they can't get rid of these people because the Democrats are all for this stuff. In the same way the Democrats are for somebody just pooping on your front lawn and sitting there taking that over. And that sounds ludicrous, but we covered that in the Bob Brad show the other day, where literally they're trying to pass certain bills where somebody can literally have an RV outside your house, spill over onto the sidewalk, and if you ask them to leave and they feel like their rights are being violated, you're going to be fined $1,000 for every time you violate their rights. And nobody cares about this crap because it's not happening to them yet. Bleep will hit the fan real quick, and it'll be too late, by the way. It'll all be passed, and you're not going to be able to do anything about it, and you get fined $1,000 here, $1,000 there, guys taking a dump, guys sitting there masturbating in front of your kids on your front lawn, and you can't do anything about it because you live in a Democrat-ran area because you didn't care enough at the time when it was being talked about. Quote, families have stayed overnight in our lobby or overflow areas, because they have nowhere to go, and we provide transportation to housing agencies the next morning so they can apply for housing when the agency reopens. Who pays for that housing? Who's going to pay for that? Oh, I'm sorry. They don't have any money. It's the taxpayer, of course. The taxpayers pay for it, of course. Drive them into the ground, folks. Send thousands upon thousands of illegal aliens there so they learn their lesson. The only way they're going to learn the lesson is having consequences. And the consequences of that is having those that voted for this crap be able to pay for it. And I hope they just get obliterated. So in the first months of 2023, folks, it's May. More than 400 families, mostly from Haiti, had stayed in the facility overnight, according to the hospital official. This is only going to get worse. There's about 25 million illegal immigrants, more than double digits of our states in population. There's going to be amnesty at some point, folks. Don't feel like that's actually going to happen to us deporting 25 million people. It ain't going to happen. There's not enough money for it, especially when we're like $31 trillion in debt, probably moving up to $32 trillion soon with Joe Biden in office. It's going to be a massive cluster bleep. So it's Friday. Hell of a show, folks. Thank you so much for always hanging out with me. You're awesome. Again, please, if you haven't already, support us. We're looking to support each other here. I'm looking to support you by giving you content. You support the Bob Brad Show by buying yourself a book. It's informative. It's timely. Oh, God, is it timely? How the left is destroying America. We just did 3 stories on how it's happening. 3 stories on how they're freaking taking over this country. And not in a good way. Also, there's merch. I'm telling you, folks, I wouldn't be telling you to get something if it didn't work. If it didn't feel good. Everybody that's bought it, I've asked him for the reviews. Shib bought a shirt. He says he likes it. The quality, I'm actually impressed with the quality myself. I like it. The fit's great. I'm not that buff. Okay, I don't know why I did that. Don't judge me, folks. Don't judge me. All right. That's it. I'm delaying this. I love you guys. I hope you have a phenomenal weekend. We are back doing Supernatural Saturdays, you guys. So especially over summer, Dr. Greer, we're going to start doing more alien stuff after what we just covered there with Bob Lazar's story, because Dr. Greer has more alien stuff out there, and he's doing a massive dump, folks. Not like a dump. You understand what I'm talking about? Like a oh my God, it's too early. He's doing basically like a dump of information. Okay, don't you judge me. A dump of information. about UFOs. The first one he did was earth shattering. So this one is the second time it's happened in like 20 years, and it's going to be insane, you guys. It's going to be insane. I'm actually going to see if we can get there in person and actually cover it. So we'll see what happens with that. If not, we're going to cover it here on the Ball Brad Show. Look out for Supernatural Saturdays. We'll be back here on Sunday. And with that being said, folks, see you later. The Ball Brad Show.